something to scream about.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats and please be up. Actually, no, please be upstanding. Yeah,
no, they're already sitting.
Right. Ladies and gentle beans, welcome to episode 3 of Something to Scream About.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you.
We're back.
You're going to do that at every podcast now.
Yeah, it's like the Simpsons intro. I'm going to try and come up with something different every single time. Although that wasn't very different. That was just a fail.
I was talking about Morgan going whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Well, Morgan can do that every single time, don't you? You're going to make a new noise each time.
Sure.
No, the pressure's on.
Well, yeah, welcome. It's good to be back in the podcast chairs again. This time, hopefully,
Back
with
in my
video
corner.
throughout and everything. Yeah. So, how has the last month been for us, everyone?
Productive.
True.
Yeah.
Working on the new EP, doing a lot of learning and mixing. What about you boys?
I've been getting better at my instrument.
New tutorials, Andy Pandy?
Oh, yeah. The last month's been all right. I'd left the band, came back.
Fuck yeah.
That happened.
I wasn't expecting him to talk about it, but there it is. He actually talked about it. Now we have to talk about it, now that you brought it up.
Yeah.
So Andy cracked the shits and left the band, and then the next day he came back.
Shit went down. I guess we don't talk it out as much as we should. We've talked it out, and here we are.
Now that you've done it, so fuck it. Let's talk about it. So, like, this is really cool because other bands are going to deal with this exact same shit, right? So sometimes with music, it can be very... With our band, especially, we're very hard on each other and hard on... I'm too loud, aren't I? Did you turn my gain down?
I just turned everything down.
Anyway, yeah, so with us, we're very, like, you know, from... Our skill level constantly has to be up here, and we're very like on each other's back a lot with how our playing is and da. So like other bands can probably relate to that. And some days it's like, oh, they're critiquing me too much, and you know you get real upset and get a bit like take it personal almost. But obviously it's not the case. But you know that shit sort of happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's important to get it out because just being open communication between all of us makes sure that everyone's on the same page, and then you're not sort of not listening to everybody's feelings, and then making sure, because you know it's working as a team, it's a people game. Like you just got to work with each other. So we're here, we're 4 strong, and we're at episode 3. So
Yes, queen.
it's still going well. It's still happy days. But yeah, let's go talk about that. I guess a little bit more in terms of what you were saying with professionalism or holding ourselves to a high standard.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I have spoken about how as producers we have that kind of mindset of being super nitpicky about the final result.
Yeah, we can be very like, because our knowledge is so like we know it being on the grid, and so like being... You know, because we mix the damn songs, we know that like that is the riff. It is meant to be played like da 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 da. So whenever it's not played to that standard, we can be a bit overly nitpicky, I guess. But at the same time, the other flip side of the coin is that because we hold ourselves to such a high standard, and we're constantly ensuring that we're being the best players, drummers, bassists, guitarists, vocalists that we can be. This is going to transition really well into the next part, by the way. Anyway,
True.
That's what makes us improve so much, and it makes us be able to, you know, make those improvements and constantly progress as a band and not be stagnant in the same spot and just creating the same sort of music. And, you know, this next EP we're doing, it will be far different to the first EP. Still the same genre of music, still the same message, but just more evolved, yeah?
Yeah. Building the skills doesn't come from being comfortable with what you're playing and repeating the same shit.
Comfort zone can get out of you.
Yeah, so putting yourself in an uncomfortable position where you're having to play shit that's really difficult and you struggle with a bit means that you're going to progress. And having that against each other and having that sort of almost like...
accountability, bro.
It's accountability and competitive banter style stuff where it's like, you know, we're all trying to get better and sort of not like one-up each other at getting better, but like, you know, challenging each other to really push forward for, the better of the band and the better of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. What do you guys have to add to that? What sort of what are ways that you thrive when you're challenging yourself? Like, how would you work best when you're wanting to get better?
You guys to call me out, and then I and then I take a real good look at myself, and then I apply myself. Nah, it's always good to want to get better. For me, man, you just got to apply yourself. You just got to work hard. That's it. I know that like I play a similar style, and it'll be good for me to challenge myself so that I can jump out of that one style that I play and do different things, and then be creative with all these new things that I'm learning, which is kind of what's happening now.
It's very easy to get good at guitar, but you're good at like one technique,
Yeah.
and then to just stay in that technique because it's
Yeah.
comfortable. And it's like, oh, but I'm good at it. And then it's very hard you try to play something else, and it's like you feel like you're learning the guitar all over again.
Yeah.
It's like when I write riffs sometimes I write a riff on my keyboard because I want to just be melodic and try and be as creative as I can because my hands don't literally have the skill than what my brain wants to play. So I try to not limit myself, and I'll make a riff on the keyboard, and then I try to learn it with my hands and play it, transpose the notes from keyboard to guitar, and then try and play it that way. And I get the same feeling. I was like, I'll play, and I'm like, I can never play this. Like, what? Like, this is stupid. But if I slow the BPM down and I just drill it, within a couple of weeks, I'm like nailing the riff, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I can
man.
actually play it.
Then for our music too, if we all keep progressing with our instruments, man, the next EP is going to sound different. The next album's going to sound different. And then we keep evolving,
Oh yeah,
which is exactly what we want to do, which we talk about all the time.
And to answer your question from my side, the way I like progress and practice and become a better bass player than as I have been, I actually apply this to a lot of sections in my life now that as I've been working on myself, is to set a major goal and then set smaller steps up to that goal. So you always getting little achievements, and but you always got something to work for.
Yeah.
That is the way I
always increase the benchmark. Once
Yeah.
you achieve one
Short-term
thing,
goals.
then you go to the
when
next.
you reach something, don't like sit there for too long appreciating it. Find something else to do.
Yeah,
Become
100%.
Yeah, I love that.
Just keep going.
Short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yeah.
So you're getting all the small ones, and then you'll eventually get to the big
because
ones.
you
and
need
then
that
reset
little
them.
hits of serotonin every now and then. Otherwise, you're just going to get absolutely tired and exhausted and depressed and
Yeah,
just not
you'd be
happy
like,
with things.
all my favorite players can play this, and then
Yeah.
I can't do it. And it's like, well, actually, if you look at the last few weeks, you are getting better.
Yeah.
Incrementally getting better. You just might not be at the point where you're dreaming of still.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. I like that one.
Yep.
Props to you, Morgan. Well done.
There you go.
But yeah, going into that then, new techniques and things that we're trying to learn. How do you find balancing? This is an open question for everybody. How do you find balancing learning new techniques versus stuff that we know works and we know either people like, or it's like, we're known for a sound, or I know we're not like massively stuck in a certain thing yet, but things that are traditionally the way you do stuff, but how do you battle that versus, say, having someone like me in the band that sends you all sorts of random crazy shit that might not work in songs?
Yeah,
That's a good one, man.
no, it's great. So so that one's a little tricky in the sense of like we as a band are still experimenting with our sound, and we're still relatively new, and we don't want to be trapped. Like we have a vibe that we're going for. We know what type of music we want to make, but we're very stuck up on not being just another band that's new metal, just another metalcore band, just another hardcore band. Like we don't want to be that niche genre bloody thing. So it's so in what you bring to the table, man, it's awesome because we all bring, literally all of us have different backgrounds. Like Morgan's like a fresh canvas that's just picking things up, and then you have your own style that you're creating that's not been tainted by any other genre because you're new to the bass, and that's a good thing. And then Andy comes from more of like a hard rock sort of background, earlier like metal, like back when metal was just cutting up. You're like that style. I'm more of the new age. I come from a hip hop background, so I'm more of like genty, bouncy, rhythmic type playing. And then you're freaking jazz and EDM, so you're bloody like all over the
What a
shop.
mix, boys.
Yeah,
Shit.
you know what I mean? And it's like, so we want to incorporate all of those different sounds in, and we want to constantly balance, being 2021 at the time of this recording, it's like we're not just going to copy and paste 90s metal music from the 90s and be like, hey, we're a new metal band, and then just copy the same formula. Like, we're going to take little bits from there that we enjoy because we like that music, but then we're going to take a little bit from metalcore too, take a little bit from, you know, hardcore or deathcore, even like growls and deep gutturals, and for layering for the screams and stuff, and
then add our own twist on everything.
yeah, and then just add our own flavor.
Like back to your question, Propaganda got really good feedback. So do we stick to that style? Do we write a whole album? Like it's hard not to, but I say no. It's always good to experiment, and how you get past that point with like the experimentations, like I guess have a reality check. I don't know, play it live, see.
Was that a pun there? Was that a reality check, man?
No, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
As long as we're not out of sync, it's okay.
God.
Such a misfit, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. Fucking hell.
Oh, shit.
Morgan, I'm suffocating over here. If they don't follow the band, no one's going to know what we're talking about.
We're losing control.
Yeah.
Okay, stop.
Okay,
No more.
there's
No more.
I don't think
Oh,
we've
you'll
got
have to
any
make
more.
me have some reprisal. Okay, no more.
We don't have any more songs.
There's no more
We can't do
songs.
anymore.
So now everyone's learnt our
Johnny
discography.
B.
Oh, Jesus.
Woo!
Yeah, I guess like going off that, then what we were saying, you know, sticking to a style or whatever, trying new things. It even goes for stuff like mixing or when you're recording the records and stuff, just the way you're arranging the songs. For example, I was watching Produce Like a Pro, so it's Warren Hewitt, I think. He's really good, and he was talking about balancing the high end of the drums, or like in a big sort of like main chorus section, having the guitars sit and roll off so that it matches the drums. But then I'm watching another tutorial of In the Mix where these metal guys are trying to put guitars and synths together, and then they're doing a completely different sort of arrangement to sit guitars underneath synths a bit better and have them, you know, sit in different places. So even the arrangement of where all the instruments are going and the instrumentation, thinking, okay, we're not just guitar, bass, drums, whatever. We've got other elements in there. You've got to then incorporate that in the writing and production side of it too.
And it's unique to what song you're doing. There's no one trick pony for
Yeah.
just do this technique, and then we're literally talking about it before the podcast started with, you know, breakdowns. Like some of the new breakdowns in our new EP we've been working on. You know, I'll write the basic guitar part and give it to Jordan, and then he'll add in some synths and textures and atmospheric stuff. And I was saying how much I really liked it because it was like, you know, it was giving so much depth to the breakdown. But like I said, we haven't done that in every single other song. It's just this one particular song we've done it that certain way because it works, but it might not necessarily work for another track. So there's so many different ways you can go about it, and we've definitely been leveling up our mixing game. I think we've watched 50 hours of tutorials just this week.
Yeah, I know. Well, talking about that process then, that's because that might be interesting, is the way that we go about writing, recording, and mixing.
Yeah.
How we get from initial conception idea to final mix.
That's cool. So if anyone out there listening to this is in a band or wants to be in a band, or even if they're just by themselves and wanting to create music, sort of the way that we go about it, I would say, is mixing side or writing side? What are we talking about?
Go
writing?
from the start, from initial
complete
conception of
All right.
idea.
So the way I come very, very big on personally when I write music too, there has to be intent. You can be, there's so many musicians out there that know every single scale. They know the major and minor, and they know Phrygian and blah, 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 blah. But they literally can't write anything decent or creative, and they don't understand why. They have all the music knowledge and the theory, but, you know, their songs come out all generic and just like no different to what you'd hear from everybody else. So like what I think is important is the intent. Like when you're writing something, what do you intend the audience to feel, the listener? What do you want them to feel in that particular moment of what are the notes saying? What are they speaking? What are they conveying and portraying? And, you know, freaking rhyming words here.
Yeah.
You're doing well.
Yeah, and so like with the one of our new songs, but it's not called Jump Around, but the file's called Jump Around, because as a producer you would know, we just name our files random
just
freaking
whatever
names
we want.
until you figure out the actual name of the song. But I want it. It's called Jump Around because when I was writing it, I just finished a workout and I was like, I was feeling antsy and jumpy, and I was on pre-workout. My face was tingling, and I was like, I just want to write like a jumpy, bouncy. Like I'm literally I'm writing this riff, I'm picturing people in a crowd jumping and moving and going crazy, thrashing around. So this song will probably make it on the EP. We'll have whatever name it is. Yeah, but it's very bouncy. It's very,
I can't listen to it and not dance to it.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so from the start, it's very important to include the intent of what you want the audience to feel. And then in regards to actual mixing side, the way that we do it is I'll write the base foundation of the song in regards to just little funky riffs, chord progressions, a very basic breakdown, whatever. And the tone doesn't necessarily matter because we're just being creative. I'll just grab a basic tone, pick a tuning, and then off we go, right? And then we've actually been dabbling quite into DI guitars lately.
Yeah.
And because even though we don't actually do DI tracking, we haven't been. Yeah. So it's, which is, your direct input of your dry guitar sound but no processing on it. And then what it does is it allows you to have the best pick attack. So like all the little waveforms, and I'm trying to explain this without going too into
you're doing well.
And then the pick attacks are nice and big, and then you can line it up because obviously we dual track every riff at minimum to hard left and half right panning. And then that makes it sound nice and wide and really fills up that space. And then like I said, with the DI, if you record the way that we've been recording, which is technically wrong, I guess, or not wrong, but not optimal, then with all the distortion on it already, the waveform's just one big distorted waveform, and your playing has to be completely on point, and there's not as much room for error, which I like the little mistakes because it sounds natural. It doesn't sound quantized and bloody synthetic. Like that's literally us playing that riff.
Yeah.
Or Andy playing the lead parts, or Morgan playing bass. Like that's actually us really playing those takes. So a bit of A and B, I guess. It's got to be.
Yeah, it has to be a bit of both. There's like, I reckon, records that are overproduced and they sound too tight.
You can totally tell when it's been quantized.
So they've got they've got the DI signal. They're just lining up literally every single transient and every little hit, and every strum is perfect left and right, even though they've got quad tracking. So they've got 4 different versions of the same take all lined up. It seems a little silly. So I like having a little bit of a spread, but having that control, I think, is something that we're going to enjoy using with DI.
I think mostly importantly, it'll be the pick attack at the start. Just that every time we start the riff and start the notes, the initial pick attack is there.
For more genty stuff.
Yeah.
Your strumming and your power chords don't matter as much, but yeah. That sort of stuff definitely. Well, that's more. Yeah, that's sort of still writing process and recording, I guess.
And then going into reamping.
Well, yeah, still sitting on writing. Still, like you might come up with the initial concept or the majority, sort of what I would call a demo, and then I will sort of take it, add some parts, change around. Then we usually have a couple sessions where we're just sort of restructuring and just listening and trying to be objective. And then we sort of, we practice and teach the parts and then try and head for recording. And then, like you said, we're trying to get into reamping. So being able to take the DI and basically run it through and adapt each of the tones depending on the sections. So then you've got, once it's played and recorded, you don't really need to go back and redo anything, because if the tone's bad, you can just adjust the tone afterwards.
That's the biggest tick of the box would be for reamping, is that you can always go back and just reamp the sound. If you record with DI guitars and it's all like chopped up and lined up and you're good to go, you can forever reamp that sound as many times as you want. So if you don't like the tone, you can just go back and make your minor changes. Otherwise, if you do it the way that we originally were doing it, whatever tone was coming out of the Axe effects or whatever VST you had at the time, that's the tone you got, and you got to work with that. And as that we learn and get better and learn our bloody gear, we learn these little techniques. We're like, oh, we can do this, and now preamp can do that, and now our input EQ can be here, and we're just learning all these extra things we can do to tidy up the sounds. And reamping.
It feels like every time I come over here, these two have learned something new about the Axe effects. It's ridiculous.
Which is awesome. That's part of
It's
being
amazing.
a producer, and it's going back to the mindset. Like that's what your mindset has to be in life in general, not even just music. In life, you should always be trying to be a better person. Always look at yourself in the mirror and say, why do I do this? Why do I do that? What are my actions? What are the consequences? Instead of pointing fingers, always point the finger at you first before you start pointing at anyone else. Because a lot of the time, we may not realize that we're actually doing shit. And you're like, damn, that's actually, I was at fault there. I didn't think I was. But, you know, even if something else made you upset, it could have been like the way that you reacted was wrong, which is something I've done for years. I've like been a very big overreactor to things. And then I've only just, you know, recently in the last year or so realized like, damn, it's not, yeah, bad things have happened to me, but the way I reacted was worse. I made it worse for myself because I was like, I just got all angry. And I'm like, I just made it worse. Like, yeah, so.
That could be like a separate podcast for yourself, Cam. Life coaching. Yeah.
God, I would talk for 10
Life
hours
coach
about
with
my
Cam.
life.
Something to talk about.
Something to talk about.
But you're right. That's the mindset
awesome.
of just self-improvement, wanting to always be better. And
Yeah,
that's
man.
why you sort of, that's why it's always learning in this household.
Oh, yeah.
It's good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Then once it's recorded, we sort of and finished. We're happy with it, and we sit down and mix it.
We
and
drill.
listen for a few hours.
Listen, think we've got a finished
Think,
product,
yeah.
go to bed, wake up the next day,
It's
re-listen, it's trash, remix it,
Redo it.
repeat about 8 times,
Yeah.
and then say fuck it and release it.
Yeah,
Days did it
pretty
take
much.
you to record. So from the first EP to mix and master, from like everything recorded, how long would it take you to record one song? Like days?
It depends.
Weeks?
It depends.
Dude,
so
you can
much
do
on
an
the song.
entire track in a day if you're on point. But,
Yeah.
you know, if you're talking like the whole process, yeah, it totally depends. Because some songs we mix and we're like, oh, yo, like this is coming together really good. And then other parts, it's like some elements work really well with the song, but then the frequencies are clashing with this. And then you try to push the guitars back to make that pop. And then when you re-listen the next day, you're like, the guitars are just gone in the mix. You can't even hear them anymore. Then you put them
Yeah.
back. It's a pain, man. Like mixing sucks. But
Yeah, it also comes down to like, and I know that we're trying to get better at this, is like getting it right from the input. So
100%. Yeah.
getting the
Right at
tones
the source.
right, getting the source
'Cause
tone,
you're just adding more
everything.
work.
Yeah, absolutely
Otherwise.
right. Like technique and whatever, all the things as good as we can. So when it comes into mixing process, there's not much for us to actually have to
Mm-hmm.
do. We're just tinkering and making it fit together.
And to add on to the mixing too, we've done a lot of things on that. On this new EP, we're experimenting a lot more with the mixing in regards to. With our first EP, we were very like, these are the instruments, this is them playing, make it loud so it's like loud on Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and all that. But we didn't do much experimental mixing in regards to like thinning things out, stereo widening things out deliberately on the choruses and then making them like come in. And then like even with EDM, you do this technique where you can automate the low pass filter. Oh my God. I'm like, I know we know what we're talking about. I'm just thinking from an audience, if they're not a producer, they're gonna be like, what are these guys talking about? But you can like, essentially you can cut out the bass very slowly out of like a rise. And then right as the drop comes, you bring it all back and it just emphasizes that drop a lot more. There's so many different techniques you could do that we're now starting to incorporate with this new EP, which is really cool. So
Yeah, well, which we've actually done on the new track "Out of Sync," which
Yes.
drops
Next-
this Friday.
this Friday?
Coming the
Next Friday.
23rd,
yeah, next Friday coming.
23rd of July. So it'll be out everywhere. Go stream it up. It's important that
Excited
you
for
listen
that.
to the song in full. You click like, you add it to a fucking playlist, and you spam your
go.
friends with it on Facebook. That's the
please.
list of necessary things that we would love you and require you to do to that freaking
Yeah,
song.
that'd be mad.
Because it's pissed us off in the recording and mixing stage that much that we just, we want you to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming out. We'll see some teasers for that. This podcast will probably come out before then.
Yeah.
And then also going off that mixing stuff and new techniques and talking about how awesome we are mixing, we want to mix your records and
All genres.
all genres. Yeah, we're basically
Except
opening
country.
up our services and starting the studio up
Yeah.
and opening it up to other clientele.
Yeah. So me and Jordan are gonna start running the studio as a little side hustle. And I come from a hip hop background mostly, so I can do literally pure hip hop, rap, trap tracks. You got the EDM stuff. You can do that from pop to mainstream pop, radio, R&B, together. And then we'll come together and do heavy metal as well. So if you are in a band or are a singer or a rapper or anything, or know anyone that is, send them to our Facebook, because we're going to be very shortly running the studio for clients. We're going to be undercutting everybody. So sorry if you run a studio, but we're going to be charging
cheaper and better.
We're going to be charging really good prices, because before I learned to produce, I used to go to studios all the time, and I would spend $200-$300 in one hit, and I would walk out with something that I just wouldn't be happy with. Like, it would just be pretty much my draw. I paid them $90 an hour for them to sit in Ableton and press record, or sit in Pro Tools and press the record button and throw a little bit of EQ and compression on, and then be like, there you go. You paid for 3 hours of my time. That's your song. You tracked it. Like, because you know how quick the days can go, especially when doing vocals, like 2 hours can pass like that. No mixing, no anything, like just tracking. So definitely got to have competitive prices, and we'll always go overboard because we can't help it. We'll give you what's worth, and it'll be really good. So
yeah, if you do want that, hit us up through the band Facebook page or whatever. We'll start the studio one soon, but hit it up through there, and we'll be able to get onto it.
I personally can't wait for my pop album to come out. Yeah. Probably next year, probably after our next EP.
Andy and the Langers.
Oh, yeah.
K-pop superstar.
That's Morgan. Morgan will be doing
Morgan's
K-pop.
I'll be the next BTS, but on my own.
Nani.
BTS. That's so good. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I was going to mention is that we had our wonderful Moondole Festival postponed.
Yes.
When's the new date?
September 11th.
There you go.
Saturday.
So we're going to be doing that then instead. We have another gig hopefully going to be lined up with the ladies from Void Matter.
Yeah, what's that, October? At
Yeah.
the Flaming
Yeah.
Glar, like October
Discuss.
23rd or something?
Disgust are playing, I think. as well.
Sick.
And who else is on that card?
Is Disgust playing?
A massive
Yeah,
band
I think
called
so.
Distorted Views. So that'll be awesome to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a really good gig. So when we get closer to the date, we'll promote the hell out of that, because that's going to be a awesome, awesome show.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You might get a taste of new music if we can get out
Yeah.
A to G by then.
Yay.
But that's pretty much it. So we missed out on Moondale, but we've been making the most of it in the studio.
Yeah. Never a dull day. Never stay out of your comfort zone. Always push yourself to go further, and set new goals continuously. There you go.
Yep.
They're the
Cool.
points.
All right.
I just want to say hey to my mum, because I know she listens to the podcast. Hey, Mum.
Does she actually?
Well, I might as well say
What's up,
hey to
Debbie?
my mum and dad.
Yeah, what's up to
What's up, Debbie?
the 8 people that are closest to
Hey,
us?
shout
that
out to
listen
Pad
us?
too, because
Yeah,
I know
he'll
he'll
be
listen to this.
What's up, Pad?
Yeah,
My guitar needs some work, mate. I need the intonations fixed. Cheers.
that's amazing. Yeah, well, speaking of which, if anybody is listening, please don't hesitate to share this shit and click the old big like button somewhere and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And that's us for another month, ladies. We'll see you again soon.
Peace.
Later.
Bye.
Oh.